me.
Hello.
Megan, well, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, of course.
Megan is pinch hitting today for Three Things Live, where thing number one, something to make you smile. Thing number two is something we're going to learn. And thing number three is something to discover. Let's go. Hi, welcome to Three Things Live today, where I almost reverted, and you should have seen Eric. He just kind of grimaced a little bit. Three Things Live, where we are here, and it is cold and blustery and snowed in the mountains, and we are so not very happy about it. So we are glad to be indoor in our sweaters and sweatshirts, yes. Cuddled up just a little bit because we have a fun week. We want to excuse Chris today. She is cruising in sunny California, and we'll be back tomorrow. But until then, we have Megan. Megan, welcome to Three Things Live.
Thanks for having me.
I know. Kyle was running just a little bit late, and by late, I mean probably couldn't have made it on time, so I went down to the store. Megan, tell us what you do at Girlfriends.
I am the store manager
I know.
at Girlfriends.
You do a fantastic job. Yes, she's been with us 3 years?
Yep.
3 years, and she is the store manager here downstairs. We kind of split your and Lisa's role just a little bit, and so you're managing the store, she's managing machines.
Yep.
And I went down and I opened the front door and I'm like, help! Megan so graciously said she would help. So we are doing something so fun today, and I could not have set you up any better because we are talking all week long about a process called Quilt as you go.
Yes.
So when I said, can you come up and help me, I didn't tell you what we were doing, did I?
No, you didn't.
So then I come up and I go, hey, Megan, we're doing Quilt as you go. And what did you say to me?
I said, wait, what is Quilt as you go?
So instead of teaching you, I said, I could not have set that up any better. What do you think Quilt as you go is?
Quilting before you put your quilt together.
Perfect.
Quilting your blocks.
Perfect. Well, guess what? We got that same response from a lot of people around the office, so we sent Shelby out on assignment today. So Shelby went out and asked some of our coworkers what Quilt as you go was, and here's some of the responses.
I think it's either an app or you're piecing something together and quilting at the same time.
I think quilt as you go means like marshmallows on the road, because I'm going to take that and I'm going to eat something nice and fluffy, like a Pop-Tart or something, but it's warm and fluffy. That's what I'm thinking.
Is it when you're like in your car and you're quilting on the go?
What I imagine Quilt as you go is like Lego packs. Like they're just these pre-made quilts that you can just like snap together and form patterns and building blocks like a kid would.
I think it's probably once you piece something, you quilt it with like clear blue tiles, and then you move on to your next piece, quilt it, and do that.
All right, we're gonna leave it to the boys to talk about marshmallows and Legos
and
quilting, right?
Yes.
Because Quilt as you go is not marshmallows, not Legos. The girls were a little bit closer. I forgot to mention that Abby helped put that together too. Isn't our marketing team wonderful?
They're
because that is
awesome.
so cute.
Yes.
Yes, well, who out there is wondering what Quilt as you go is and what it means? Raise your hand if you are, because guess what? I took a class when I very first learned to quilt, and we're going to do the technique I learned in the class on Wednesday. So you have to stay tuned all week. But they never taught us how to finish it, so I had all these quilt blocks that I eventually threw away because I never learned the quilt as you go finishing technique.
Wow.
And I cannot wait to get that started, because Quilt as you go is really a technique that you can do in various different methods. There's lots of different ways, but you can finish it on your sewing machine, and it's part of that you will do a block and put it together, do a block and put it together. So you don't have to send it out to the long armor, you don't have to put it on your quilting frames, you don't have to do it by hand. Well, there's some parts that do by hand.
Yeah.
But today, Megan, I'm going to teach you
I'm excited.
how to quilt as you go
excited.
without putting a sashing in between. And so
Okay.
I cannot wait to get started.
Awesome.
So we're going to head right over to the machine and we'll get started.
Okay.
And you are definitely going to
excited.
be the learner today because you have no prep. So
Right.
ask a million questions, because if you have these questions, then I know you guys at home have them too. So we will see you over at the machine in just a second. Three Things Live is back, and last week we introduced the new Stitch Your Story Challenge for the month of May. Home.
We share some blocks, techniques, and fabric from around the world to help get your creative wheels turning. Plus, we showed a super easy way to trace images onto your fabric.
We had interior designer Liz Powell share some ideas on how to make your house a home.
Just try to remember our why in our homes.
If you haven't been watching live, tune in at 1 p.m. Mountain and 3 p.m. Eastern and become a part of a global community of creators just like you. Brilliant! See what you've been missing by clicking the links below.
Three Things Live is where we always have something to make you smile
Something to learn.
and something to discover.
Let's go!
Welcome back to Three Things Live. If you're just joining us, I'm Allison.
And I'm Megan.
And I have Megan from the store downstairs. This is her first day on Three Things Live, and so we want to welcome her. But we are talking about a really fun technique called Quilt as you go. If you missed the opening, you have to go back and watch, because there was a lot of different answers about Quilt as you go, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. And so we're just going to show you three of our favorites this week, and the first one we are going to do is quilting without sashing. And by sashing, I mean the little strips that are in between the quilt blocks. So, but before we get started, Megan, I have to tell you, guess what I did all weekend?
Quilt as you go.
No.
Oh.
It was the Great American Clean Out at my house.
Oh,
and
wow.
I threw away 48 black bags in the
Cleaning.
dumpster.
That's the best feeling.
I know. Remember you told me
Yes.
that you had done that when your kids, down in your basement, when your
Yes.
kids got older. So
Yep.
I just took a little hint. So we found tons of fabric scraps, and that is the best part about Quilt as you go.
Yeah.
Is because you really can quilt with a lot of different fabric scraps or a lot of different things, and it's one of those mindless techniques that you just can sit in front of the machine. Have you on Netflix watched that program called The Quilters?
No, I've seen it a lot lately.
Oh,
I need to watch
it
it.
is so great. So if you have watched that, tell us in the comment.
Yeah.
But The Quilters is a program about a prison that they actually train these men to make quilts, and they're making quilts for
Wow.
foster care.
How
So
cool.
I kind of wondered how that would work out, and I watched it over the weekend. It was so touching.
Really?
So apparently,
have
in
to
order
watch
to
it.
be able to be part of this quilting group, you have to have absolutely zero write-ups or have been in trouble or whatever, because
okay.
they're actually let them working with rotary cutters
Yeah.
and machines.
Right. Wow.
But I think the thing that touched me the most was that the gentleman that they interviewed, and he said, I have to be this big tough guy in prison, but then I can come in and I can quilt and I can show my softer side, and I can actually
Yeah.
feel like I am a human. And
Wow.
that really touched me.
Yeah.
Just because I just felt so bad for them. And then to see these amazing quilts that they were making for these children in foster care is kind of
Yeah.
a way to give back.
Wow.
I would definitely recommend
Yeah.
it if anybody
I'll have
wants
to
to
watch
watch
it.
that. But the other thing that I liked is, I guess they quilt from 7:30 in the morning until 3 is their shift, 5 days a week, or 4 days a week, I can't remember.
Wow.
But it talked about how they could just put their minds
Yeah.
someplace else
Right.
and not worry about all of the things. So
awesome.
really inspiring, really heartwarming.
Yeah.
But Quilt as you go without sashing, let me tell you how to do this. So I am going to show you just a little bit, and then we're going to put Megan to work. So I have 2 quilt blocks that I've quilted. Now, if you're going to quilt as you go without sashing, there's a couple of little hints. the first thing I'm going to say to you is that there is a free technique sheet over on our website under new releases. It's also free in the club, so you can download this technique sheet and it will cover a lot of the different techniques we're going through. But you will make your quilt blocks. Let's show you this one. You'll make your quilt blocks and you're actually going to quilt those. And I should have had Leanne do this. Hopefully you can see this if we can get a little bit closer. But you're going to stop your quilting about an inch away from the edge. So it says without sashing, meaning we're not going to add an extra inch there, but we are actually going to put together our quilt sandwich, our front, our back, and then we're going to quilt it and stop about an inch away on all sides. And that will make sense just a little bit while we do that. So once we have that, we'll have our quilt blocks. So I have my quilt block here. I've quit about an inch away. I'm going to actually take and I'm going to turn my batting and my back piece, and I'm going to turn that back and pin that. So I'm going to do that on both sides. So there's my batting and my back. Then I'm going to hand this to you, Megan. It's time to get you started because I am going to have you put these together and I'm going to have you sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way down the side of that. We're using the Altair 2 today, which is really great.
Yes.
So I have Megan set up. Guess what? Megan is the proud owner.
I am. I just bought a new Altair 2 and I'm so excited.
In this. So she just bought one.
Unplug this.
Yep. She is actually going to do it just without the presser foot. Megan, you are brave.
I'm kind of short. I don't think I can reach the presser.
Perfect.
So we're going to do it this way.
So we are going to just sew a 1/4 inch seam. Now, if you are sewing on a baby lock, if you go into the quilting, the Q mode, and hit quilting 2, and you can just use the edge of your J presser foot.
Yes.
And so that is like really fantastic.
There you are.
So look, that's the hardest thing you have to do today.
That wasn't
All
too
right.
bad.
So what I did is had her do this, and I'm going to just finger press this open right here, or you can press it to one side. It doesn't really matter. You just really want it flat. All right, once we have that done, this is how easy. So you would do all your blocks together. You could go 2 at a time if you were going to do a table runner. We're going to unpin where we put our batting, and we're going to work with our batting first. So you're going to fold your batting right in here to the center. And then you are going to fold this one right in here to the center. Do you see how you have a overlap just a little bit?
Yep.
Now, I've seen this done 2 ways, but I'm going to take and I'm going to actually use a glue stick.
Glue stick.
Not my favorite notion, the hot glue,
No.
but I'm just going to take a glue stick and I'm just going to take and I'm just going to go right down this side right here just to hold that in place. But you could baste stitch that if you wanted.
Okay.
You don't have to. All right, once I have that in place, then I'm going to take my top and I'm going to fold this over, and then I'm going to fold my next one over. Once I do that, I'm going to turn this under a 1/4 inch and I'm going to pin
Okay.
right along that whole edge.
Awesome.
And that's all there is to it.
Wow.
I mean, can you believe that?
Easy.
Yeah, so there are 2 methods I'm going to show you. Once you do a 1/4 inch, then, and pin this, then I want to, and the reason I'm using pins is because I want to turn this over and I want to see where my pins are lining up.
Okay.
Because you can stitch right down the ditch and hold that in place. So do you see right here on this top one right here where my pin is lined over just a little bit? I probably want to pull this over so that it's right there in that stitch in the ditch. Now, that is if I took the chance. So then I'm pretty close so that if I stitch that, I would catch it.
Yeah, awesome.
Or, I know this is a bad word. Okay, I'm gearing up. You can take and just hand blind stitch. You guys just have to see Megan's face. She just went,
No hand stitching.
yeah, you can just take and blind stitch that here. But the reason I like that is really quilt as you go. Then all of a sudden, Shelby's right. You could take that in the car and do all your
That's
all
true.
that. And so you would just go along and hand stitch that.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions about that?
I
Isn't
don't
that
think
such
so.
an easy?
So you can do it with your machine. Just stitch right in the ditch.
Yep. Do you want to do it?
Because I'm not a big fan of hand
Okay,
stitching.
I'm gonna hand this to you.
Okay.
And you can just take and just stitch right down that edge.
Okay, let's try it.
Megan is a perfect stitcher.
That's
by
not
perfectionist.
true.
Yes, she is. You should see what she has done down there. Yep. Liv says just glue it.
Okay,
Liv, I love that.
I could do that.
Yep, you can just stitch right down that edge and it kind of just stitches in the ditch. And you have your quilt as you go done. And then you are not having to send this out. You're just quilting your 8.5 by 8.5 inch blocks. So,
Don't want to run over that pin. Wouldn't be good. Okay, let's see it. Oh, I missed part of it there.
that's all right. Okay, so we're going to turn this over. Perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect. Can't even
So
tell.
cool.
Isn't that so fun?
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, so it's so easy. Leanne put this together for us, so let me go through this one more time. You're going to take, once you have that, you'll take and you'll fold your batting over. You can stitch that down or you can just glue it. Then you're going to fold your fabric over. You're going to turn your fabric 1/4 inch all the way down. Just stitch right along there and you're done.
Awesome.
You could, Roberta wants to know if you could do a serpentine stitch or another decorative stitch. Absolutely. And it would make it really fun.
Yeah.
But this is a great way. All those layer cakes that you have laying around, your
Yeah.
10-inch squares, this is a great way to do this. This is a great way to get your kids involved. This is a great way to use IQ Designer.
Yes.
And to just do, if you did 10-inch squares, just do an 8 by 8 in the center.
Yeah,
So
that's a great idea.
just all the way around. Now, the question I know is going to come up, once you have all your rows together, then what?
Yeah, then what?
Oh no, what do you think? All right, so then once you have your rows together, we're going to do it exactly the same way. So you're going to lay your rows out. You're going to fold this back.
Okay.
See how you
Yep.
fold this back? Then you're going to fold your batting back.
Okay.
Just pin this back on both sides. So fold your batting and your rows back. And the reason that you don't necessarily have to pin this back, but the reason that I pin it back is it just keeps it out of the way. Going to do the same thing on this side. And then you're going to take this to your machine,
Perfect.
1/4 inch together, and you're
Same
done.
process.
Laura says,
Awesome.
great mind. She was just thinking that.
Yeah.
So, all right, that is our quilt as you go for, all right, we do have a question. Yes. Okay, so the question on YouTube is, do you add more rows together the same as you do with your sashing, if sashing were attached?
Okay.
Tune in tomorrow, so if you have sashing questions, they have done a whole quilt that way, but this way you're not going to add any sashing, you're just going to add your blocks to your blocks, so that you would literally lay your blocks together just like this, and you don't have to add sashing at all. Now, I am a big fan of sashing on quilts.
Yeah, I am too.
So if I were going to do a table runner, I would probably do this method, or if I wanted to do a big pillow, I would do 4 squares at a time. But if I was going to do a big quilt, then I would add sashing. And actually, Sandra and Fern and Suzanne, I think maybe it's just Suzanne and Fern and Chris. You have to tune in tomorrow because it is as much a mystery about who's going to be on tomorrow as about Quilt as you go with sashing. But they are actually going to do Quilt as you go with the sashing.
Awesome. I'm
on there.
excited to watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let me remind you one more time. If you're looking for the technique sheet on how to put this together, we have that under new releases. We have that under As Seen on 3 Things Live, and we also have that in the Club 3. Laura wants to know, but what about the one you already sewed before you put the rows together? You probably want to stop about 1 inch away from
okay.
the top, Laura, so that you have that same inch so that you can pull this down. Just see right here how I've pulled that down.
Yep.
So you'll want to stop a little bit from the top so that you are able to grab your fabric.
Great question.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Yep.
All right. Who's gonna try this at home?
Me.
Are you gonna try
Yes,
this at
I want
home?
to,
I mean,
yeah.
isn't this so fun?
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, we're gonna talk about this really fun design I have on the front. So stick with us for our Discover. We will be right back after this.
We're going to do a self-binding baby blanket and do a miter corner. I found the middle points of all 4 of my sides and I put a pin in it. So on each of your squares, take a marking pen, just mark a line 1/4 of an inch. On all 4 corners, I'm going to line up my 2 pins. I'm just going to join my front and my back together. So you need to leave an opening. I'm going to have you sew, and then you're going to stop right there.
But you work from the middle out
From
on
the
both
middle,
sides.
yep,
Okay.
all the way around. Now we're going to do our miters with the raw edges together and fold it to the corner. I'm going to use the lines on my ruler, and I'm going to draw a line from the stitching where we stop all the way across. I'm going to trim this off 1/4 inch, and then we're going to turn it right sides out. We'll take it to the iron, and we will top stitch around here to hold it into place, or you can
Okay.
use a decorative stitch, and then you press it really good.
Hi, it's Chris from My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop, and I'm here to ask, have you started your Stitch Your Story blocks yet? If you're wondering what exactly is Stitch Your Story, let me share a few ideas with you. It is actually a movement that we are doing here in the year 2025.
It is the stories of those who came before us that ultimately help us understand who we are as human beings.
We're asking you to create a personal 12.5-inch unfinished quilt block each month. And it's according to a theme. And we're going to give you different ideas throughout the year on what the theme is and what techniques you could possibly do, because really there's no right or wrong way to do it. It is all up to you and your own creativity.
Today, my legend is a true legend.
I want you to have fun and try different techniques throughout the year.
Of course, we gotta have
legs can kick.
major 3D dimension going on.
It's even better than a picture, right?
All your questions could be answered by watching 3 Themes Live every month. That is going to be your go-to resource for everything Stitch Your Story.
As you guys share
Right.
your stories with us, I've learned a little bit more about different people.
We want to celebrate your progress, so please, by all means, share with us your pictures, your stories, and you can do so by using the hashtag StitchYourStory2025 and hashtag MyGirlfriend'sQuiltShop so that we can follow along on your journey to a complete quilt by the end of the year.
We are back. Thank you. Thank you for sticking with us. And we have been talking Quilt as you go on 3 Things Live. I have Megan with me. She has committed to do 3 Things Live. We also watched Stitch Your Story, and you did your first 2 blocks and have got to get going, right?
Yes, I do need to get back to
I
it.
cannot wait.
Yeah.
Get back to those. So one of the fun things that we have available for you today is this daisy block. And this daisy, we have it in sewing, and also we have it in machine embroidered. So the sewing design is available on the website as well as the machine embroidery. But this is a really fun way, and wouldn't this be a darling quilt?
Yes.
You have a daughter,
Yep.
Kate. She's
She's almost 12.
almost 12.
Yep.
And so she would love something like
She
this
would.
because this is just not, it's girly, but not
Yeah.
so childish anymore.
Right.
So what I had Kyle do is she actually took and put these blocks just on some fabric for me. And then I just put some borders around this.
Cute.
And that's how I got my Quilt As You Go, is
Yeah.
just did that. And wouldn't that be fun just on your scrap fabrics? My grandma had a quilt in her basement that I loved making the bed with her. So that's where we would sleep. We would sleep downstairs, and then she would come down and help us make the bed in the morning. And and it was just a crazy quilt. I mean, it was just sewn together patches, but she could tell us what each of those fabrics were. She would say, that's your Aunt Mary Jo's dress when she was 14, or this was a tie that your grandpa had. And we would spend hours down there making the bed. And she would tell us all about the patches in the quilt. And I don't know why that memory just all of a sudden hit me, because I haven't thought of that for years and years and years. But all of a sudden when I was thinking, I'm like, wouldn't that be really fun to put that together as you're backing or you're sashing, and then to be able to talk about where the fabric came. I mean, of course, my grandmother grew up during World War II and the Depression and all those things when fabric was so precious. But yeah, I just absolutely thought that would be really fun, a fun way. And as I'm cleaning out and throwing away and all of the things, I'm just like, oh, maybe that is one of those things that I should be a little bit. I think if they were done, I was also telling you before that I had a quilt as you go that I never learned to do the back, and I threw the whole thing away, and I had done all of the blocks. So Roberta, the daisy is not in the club. It is just on our website at this time. So yeah, really, really fun. We want to put together. So what I did is I took and we did the daisy, and then I actually did clear blue tiles.
Love it.
And so I just did the 6x6 design so that I didn't have to worry about my edges on that, because I could just do the 6x6 design on the clear blue tile and center it right in the center of my daisy. And then
awesome.
I did that. Barb says the clothing sewing project quilt was the only way she knew for the longest time, because that's how her grandma always made them. Yeah, Barb, isn't that so? My grandma also, I just loved to be down in the basement with her, because she had one of those washing machines that had a roller that you'd like roll it through to the other bin, and then it would like chug away, and then you would go through. I hope you'll join us this whole week. We have a lot of Quilt As You Go projects. It's just a really great way to get some of those projects done, and I know we're winding up on our UFO. So join us so we can see tomorrow how to do it with sashing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that.
And then we also have another project on Wednesday where Jackie and I will be back to show another Quilt As You Go that is true remnants. I also want a reminder, we will be closed on Monday, the 26th, for Memorial Day. So we will not have 3 Things Live on Monday. So I hope everybody is going to celebrate their Memorial Day the very best. I love Memorial Day. It's kind of the kickoff to summer. Kids are getting out of school. What do you do for Memorial Day, Megan?
Typical stuff. We go visit graves and usually have just a barbecue at home.
We do the same. I just love it. I mean, it's a great day to just kind of remember family and reminisce and tell those stories. Remember, stitch your story and tell those stories and be thinking about some of the different things. Melody had a question, do I quilt it before I put the daisy on? On this, I did not. I just quilted right over the top of the daisy, but absolutely you could. I mean, I quilted after I put my daisy on because it was a quilt as you go. And I wanted that quilting to go through to the back side, so I made my quilt sandwich. So great question. All right, if we don't have any more questions, then we will see you tomorrow. Chris will be back. Tune in at 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time and do all the things you love today. And Megan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course.
It was so fun.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
It was fun.
We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.